Welcome back to Newsnight. Lawyers representing the Marikana victims say the road to justice has been treacherous and elusive. It's been 11 years since the tragic day in Northwest when police killed 34 mine workers and left 78 seriously injured. More than 200 miners were arrested. Lawyers maintain that the characterization of striking workers as criminals led to the massacre. They are also calling for an unconditional apology from President Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's discuss this further. We're joined by Andres Ngome, who represents some of the miners. Andres, thank you for joining us at ENCA, but I guess maybe let's start with that apology from the president. Why is it important to get an apology from President Cyril Ramaphosa?
Good evening, Aviwe, and thanks to you and your viewers. Look, what caused the massacre was the characterization of the labor dispute between lawmen as well as the then workers. And what needs to settle and find justice essentially is the president coming out and saying that he is apologetic for what transpired in Marikana. So therefore, it means the characterization caused the massacre. The apology is supposed to be the one action that settles the dispute.
Okay, but are you hopeful that you'll receive this apology, given that for the last 10 or so years, the president hasn't been to any of these commemorations?
Look, our clients are now have lost hope that the president on his own volition will give an apology. And that being the case, they can only rely on the courts to force the president to give that apology. And we are hopeful that very soon the courts will be coming out and giving an order that says the president must give an unconditional apology for his characterization of the labor dispute as a dastardly criminal act. So therefore, we're hopeful soon we will be having the court giving an order that says the president must apologize.
Okay. You say that the road to justice for your clients has been treacherous and elusive. How so? What has happened in the past 10 or so years? And maybe more importantly, what hasn't happened?
The basic condition of the law is this, that justice delayed is justice denied. And we know that it has taken at least more than a decade for the people of Marikana to find some justice insofar as their disputes with the government is concerned. So therefore, they are saying, in as much as the road to this point at least has been elusive, they can only hope that the courts can give an outcome that says the president must apologize, and therefore they were going to push forward and get the courts to assist them in making sure that they find the justice that they're looking for.
Maybe just for an update, I know we've met a number of times outside court and inside court, of course, as you go and represent your clients there. What's the latest in these courts? What's happening in court?
What is happening in court, what I think I need to state notably, is the fact that there has been a judge that had been a shareholder in the lawman structure that was supposed to decide on the question of whether or not the president is supposed to succeed insofar as the technical questions that he raised was concerned. That matter had been ventilated, and that judge had to recuse himself simply because we found that there was no way in which he was going to find in favor of the clients that we represent, because if the clients that we represented succeeded, the judge was going to make a loss insofar as his investment in lawmen was concerned. So we went on and then argued in front of the current judge, Judge Lamont. Judge Lamont found out that the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, is a mastermind to the dastardly murder of the people that have been involved in a labor dispute with lawmen in 2012. So that being the case, it means the court also had to find out that there have been factual and legal causation for the president to come and answer for his actions insofar as what transpired that ended up causing the massacre. So that being the case, it means we are waiting on a date for the court to say the president must sit in the box and answer to what it is that he perceived was going to be the outcome insofar as his characterization as well as the actions of the police insofar as causing the massacre is concerned. So we're close to finding justice, and I'm saying we are soon going to find the court confirming whether or not the president is supposed to, one, apologize, two, be personally liable for compensating people that were massacred, as well as those that we represent, which were the injured and arrested in Marikana.
But aren't these findings then contrary to the Farlam Commission itself and the findings towards President Cyril Ramaphosa, given that it seemed to suggest that he couldn't be held, culpably liable for those 34 deaths?
In the Farlam Commission of Inquiry, we had an expert called by the police, the SAPS, Mr. Derova. He was brought from the experts. I think he was from the USA. And he came through to say there was no way in which something of the magnitude of Marikana that could happen without political intervention. So therefore, he came through to contradict the outcomes of the Farlam Commission. He came through to say there was no way in which the Farlam Commission could only find Riapiecha as the highest political or the office bearer responsible for having caused the massacre. Essentially, he was agreeing with our submission that said that Marikana Massacre took place as a result of the dastardly criminal characterization by the president, and therefore it meant it ought to have gone beyond Riapiecha. So that being the case, we are justified in bringing the application for review of the Farlam Commission to the fore. Our clients are saying, review the Farlam Commission inquiries, and we are proceeding with that process. And lastly, they are also saying that review the findings of the then National Public Prosecutor, Mr. Abrahams. So we are bringing all those actions to the fore, but at least we are now very close to coming to the truth insofar as the fact that the court has said that Mr. Ramaphosa is supposed to come and answer simply because factually and legally he was to blame insofar as what transpired in Marikana. The court essentially found out that he was the mastermind for having caused the massacre.
And you are representing more than 200 miners who were arrested and also some of them injured. What are you looking for? Is it financial compensation, and to who exactly? I know you've mentioned President Cyril Ramaphosa, but is he the only person that you think ought to be liable?
In 2015, the government accepted liability and the government made compensations. As at now, we are looking at the fact that the government has settled about 90% of the claims that we had, which is for the unlawful arrests as well as for unlawful detentions and the injuries. Now, in 2016 or so, the president, together with lawmen, raised technicalities for why they are not supposed to be personally liable, as well as why they're not supposed to give apologies. And the court has dismissed, essentially, to the largest basis, those technicalities, which therefore means that we are sitting at a point where the next phase is that government or the court is supposed to give us a date when the president is supposed to come and answer. And we are expecting him to give reasons why he's not supposed to give an apology. And that is very close. We are expecting that the court must just order him to give an apology, to also go on and give compensation for the injuries as well as the arrests.
Okay, and then just maybe lastly, Andres, on Wednesday, the 16th of August, will mark exactly 11 years since this atrocity and tragedy happened. What we normally see, what I've seen in the number of years that I've been able to go and cover this myself, is that we'll see your unions, we'll see the likes of you who represent the lawyers, but we never see government at any of these official commemoration. Why do you think that's so?
Look, my hope had been that from 2012, the president would have come through and given an apology, and we wouldn't have had all of this litigation. And we have seen what has transpired over the years when there has been some attempt to try and approach the widows as well as the arrested persons. But there hasn't been anything that is tangible, in my view, where the president says, I understand my role within Lonmin, I understand my role within the then government, and I understand my role within the then union. And I say, here's how we need to find one another and try to find some solution. So I'm hoping, our clients are at least hoping that the president would be compelled, because it's something that he should have done a long time ago, to come through and say, apologies, I know that my utterances caused deaths. Apologies, and all that I seek is that we should find one another and try to find a common way going forward. So I'm only hopeful that 11 years on, we'll find some justice. Though
and
my
reality
clients are
is,
not very...
not to cut you short, the reality is that it hasn't happened for the last 11 years. What if it doesn't happen?
If it doesn't happen, the course will be the only way. I mean, we have hope that in the past 11 years, the president would have come through. He didn't. So the courts will have to compel him. He'll come through and say, I apologize, by order of court.
All right. Thank you very much. Hoping on the court stays, Andries Nkome, a lawyer representing minors who were arrested at Marikana 11 years ago.